my God, sit down! This is long, it's messy, and I am still vibrating from it, but I need to get it out before I combust. This is a pro-revenge story. And yes, it involves a wedding. Yes, it involves betrayal. Yes, it ends with me alive and him not. For context, for nearly 4 years, my life felt like the soothing loop of a playlist I'd memorized. I had a job that paid the bills, a small rental with too many plants, a handful of friends who were actually friends, and most importantly, Chris. Chris was the kind of partner people write rom-com blurbs about. Quick jokes, slow hands, the guy who showed up with coffee and that stupid blanket I loved. We planned our lives like we planned brunches, casually confident that everything would fall into place. He proposed on a rainy Tuesday, and I said yes because I trusted him the way I trusted sunlight. I didn't notice the first cracks. They were microscopic. A phone face down more often than not. A pattern of business trips that didn't line up with his calendar. A defensiveness about his laptop password. I told myself I was reading too much into it. I wanted to believe the man who knew how I liked my eggs would never be the kind of person who ruined someone's life. Then, 3 months before the wedding, I found a receipt in his coat pocket. Not for a fancy dinner, for plane tickets. Round trip, destination. A small city, 3 hours from ours. Dates. Overlapping with the weekend, he said he had work stuff. I confronted him. He smiled, the kind of smile that asks you to be reasonable. He said, "You're paranoid. It's nothing. Stop ruining everything." I started noticing other things. A hotel key tucked behind the couch cushion. A series of text previews that resolved into words when I glanced at his screen by accident. A thread of Instagram DMs with a handle I didn't recognize. I felt sick, like someone had vacuumed the oxygen out of the room. My chest hurt in a way that didn't have a remedy. I could have reacted like a character in a daytime TV meltdown. I could have screamed and stormed out and become a scene for the internet. Instead, wild as it sounds, I documented receipts, screenshots, dates, text logs. A pattern emerged fast. He wasn't just cheating. He'd been quietly siphoning money from accounts we shared, pocketing deposits intended for vendors, and promising vendors we hadn't paid that it would be fine. He wasn't just betraying me emotionally. He was weaponizing our wedding as a piggy bank. That's when the plan hardened. Not a petty, illegal, I'll smash their car plan. A surgical, legal, and very public dismantling. I refused to be the person who shouts from the rooftops without proof. I wanted the universe to look at him and collect its due. Step 1, allies. I told 3 people. My sister, my maid of honor, who is also my oldest friend, and my brother-in-law, who happens to be a lawyer. I told them in tears and through clenched teeth. They did not flinch. My sister cried for 5 minutes, and then we started a checklist. My MO became my operations manager. My brother-in-law started asking questions about bank statements. Step 2, evidence chain and contingency. We froze shared accounts and rerouted vendor payments. I called our wedding planner and, without revealing everything, told her I needed a small change to the video presentation content, a supposedly surprise requested by the groom. She was confused but agreed to help. I met with an attorney who explained my options: civil recovery for misappropriated funds, reporting fraud, and, crucially, how to make a public exposure that didn't cross legal lines. We did everything methodically. Timestamps, copies, bank records, vendor invoices, no fabrication. Nothing I couldn't stand behind under oath. Step 3, the wedding itself. I played my part. I smiled, I wore the dress, I rehearsed vows that I would never speak. I wanted him to feel safe. People underestimate how much easier it is to destroy a person's performance when they think the show is still playing. He strutted into the room like a men's fashion catalog. He had no idea the knives in the bouquet were purely metaphorical. The video montage, supposed to be a sleepy highlight reel of our relationship, was cued between dinner and speeches. The room dimmed, our families watched photos of us at stupid New Year's parties. At the bakery where he'd apparently always known we'd cut the cake. At that stupid rainy proposal. Then the reel took a turn. I had asked the videographer days before to include one more clip under the guise of a behind-the-scenes blooper. What played next was not bloopers. We had, carefully and legally, compiled a series of images and short video clips. Screenshots of his DMs with the other woman. Timestamps of hotel reservations. A voice memo he left on his phone where he casually discussed moving vendor funds. He intended to keep enough to pay the venue and pocket the rest, and how easy it would be because she trusts me. The room shifted. Laughter stalled. Someone whispered. People leaned forward because gossip is a physical thing. You can feel its temperature change. I stepped up as the video faded. I had rehearsed this too. Not to perform, but to be clear, I said calmly, into a microphone that made my voice feel like a bell. I love weddings. I wanted our day to be real. If you want to know why the reception has been delayed, please look at the screen. I didn't scream. I didn't cry on cue. I let the evidence speak. The guests checked their phones. They read the messages. They exchanged glances that made his facade crack. He tried to laugh it off. He mouthed words. I had already sent a copy of the documentation to 3 people before the montage started. His parents, a handful of mutual friends who deserved the truth, and the venue manager. The venue manager, bless her, walked straight to the bar and told the bartender to stop any suspicious transactions. The friend I'd confided in earlier texted the caterer and asked them to hold off on final payment. Small, precise moves that prevented immediate cover-ups. The twist that I hadn't fully expected came from someone else. The other woman showed up. She was only there because she'd heard rumor from a mutual friend that something weird might happen. She sat at the back, face pale. When people saw her, the room cooled further. She and I spoke privately for 10 minutes. She thought he was leaving me for her. She thought she was the one. She didn't know about the money. Once she saw the evidence, once we compared notes, she became an ally. She was furious. She had her own receipts. A secret bank account of his transfers he'd promised would be investment returns. She had been lied to, too. HR not applicable here. But the legal blow came fast. With the help of my brother-in-law, I filed for an immediate civil claim to recover misappropriated funds earmarked for wedding vendors. We contacted the venue and suppliers, many of whom had already been called by friends, and produced invoices proving non-payment. A threatened lien and a lawyer's letter is a compelling thing at any dinner party. Within 72 hours, the venue had placed a hold on his personal accounts, and we'd gotten emergency mediation scheduled. His mother, who had been sitting in the front row, called him out in the parking lot while guests watched. Family ties snapped in real time. There is no more potent social sanction than a parent's disappointment made public. He attempted to salvage his reputation by spinning lies that I'd manufactured evidence, that I was vindictive, that I was trying to ruin him because I wanted control. People can be gullible, but when multiple independent vendors received identical documentation and the other woman corroborated financial transactions, his narrative collapsed. He lost the wedding deposit. The venue required payment from him personally after the emergency measures. He had to answer to vendors, and he was left looking like a man who had abused trust for fun and profit. Emotionally, the payoff wasn't fireworks. The first week after the wedding, I sat in my apartment and cried until coughing felt easier than breathing. But the momentum shifted. The legal claims recovered a portion of the misappropriated money. Several vendors insisted that they would work with me to reschedule if I wanted. I didn't. Friends rallied. The woman he'd cheated with agreed to give a statement to our attorney. Small, real-world things that added up to accountability. What happened to Chris? He lost friends who mattered. His parents were devastated. Their trust was shredded. Professionally, a coworker who'd been on the brink of promoting him paused. The optics of the public humiliation weren't great. He had to seek mediation to settle with vendors. The financial hit was real, and it was public. He scraped together apologies and PR statements that felt hollow. The worst punishment wasn't money, it was the way his name began to fall out of people's mouths with less affection. He had to watch the life he'd crafted, charming, untouchable, evaporate in the faces of people he'd lied to every day. Me, I rebuilt. I took therapy seriously. I stopped trying to be polite when my gut screamed that someone was lying. I curated my life back into the version that fit me, not the one I'd been coaxed into by a man who saw me as a mark. I stopped apologizing for my anger. I started dating again, badly at first, and then better. I started running on rainy mornings and learned how to make coffee exactly the way I like it. The legal outcome wasn't cinematic. He paid restitution, not ruin, but the public record existed. There were consequences. People who'd been silent found voice. That mattered more than I expected. If there is a moral here, it's complicated and kind of ugly. Don't assume sweetness equals safety. If you are betrayed, document what you can. Use the law instead of letting rage make you reckless. And sometimes, the cleanest revenge is the one where you act like yourself. Steady, sober, and unafraid to make room for the truth. Do I relish his downfall? No, but I am not the same person who let him siphon my trust and our wedding funds. I got my agency back. I took the day that was supposed to celebrate a partnership and turned it into an altar for accountability. That didn't make the pain vanish, but it made me remember that I mattered enough to stand up. And that, in the end, is the most satisfying kind of revenge.